Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Mad Realm's Vote to Kick. I'm your host, Jim, and with me this week we got Dayo once again as our guest. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Ready to win. Arr.
Gotcha. What Dayo is talking about winning is we're discussing community-created hype. Now, this is any hype created by a community, and this is for anything in gaming. So, for example, for our Guild Wars 2 audience, y'all recently got the Warclaw announcement, the mount for Dub v Dub. So there's that. Hey Kit, how you doing? And then for other games, a fantastic example of hype would be something like Half-Life 3, honestly. Because the fans want Half-Life 3, very much so. And if they ever get Half-Life 3, is it going to live up to the hype? Right? So that's what we're talking about. Now, before we get into that, the results of the poll that happened last week when I was talking with Fenris about classic MMO servers. That is pretty solidly in the keep section of things. I'm going to have to let Fenris know that he lost that one. It's a 2/3 majority there. So
Nostalgia is too strong.
well, I mean, one of the things I was talking about is that it gives developers, if they're basically just re-releasing the game, it gives them an opportunity to do better a second time around. But we're gonna go right on
Yeah,
over to
if they can reboot movies, why can't they just reboot a game?
Yeah, you got a point. I mean, they did it with Final Fantasy. And there is the poll right there for our community created content setup. So, because guest choice, Dayo, take it away.
All right. Well, like Jim said, we are doing community created hype, and I'm on the side of kick. Get that out of there, because it's just the most recent one, like Jim stated, was the Guild Wars 2 World v World one, where they had just announced, for people that don't know, and you can check it out on Talking Script Saturdays. We'll be definitely talking all about it, but they announced the a mount exclusively you can get out of War v World, and we don't really have any other information on it. Apparently, it's ruffled some feathers of the World v World community, of seeing a wide array of different answers and stuff. But what I think really hit me was this announcement for it was delayed by 2 weeks. So I don't know if that made it worse as well due to weather, which, I can't blame them. But what really bugged me was I heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, I was really hoping it would be the Alliance update," which they are working on, World War Alliance system, which they have no date for or anything like that. But even the video that someone captured of I think a dev talking about it on Twitch literally said, "Oh yeah, we have something planned to show off World War World related." And literally in that sentence, like afterwards, they say it is not Alliance based. Like, but still, like, I don't know what the detachment was for some of the player base going, "Oh, it's Alliance system." It's like, no, didn't you just hear? But this whole getting themselves worked up, and probably getting a lot of other people that maybe were indifferent or something going, "Oh, this stuff does sound cool," and gets them emotionally invested, only to be let down. And that was the most recent thing. But I mean, community created hype. Like, I mean, a lot of people were excited about Fallout 76. I know there was a vote to kick on that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of games have that kind of hype. I mean, when it was the rise of when WoW was like top dog of like a juggernaut. I mean, it's still pretty much top dog sub wise in numbers, but when it was like no one could touch it, it was also that time where when a new MMO came out, first thing everybody said, "Is it a WoW killer?" And then everybody was so confident of it that people would go over for a month, right when the subscription would lapse and then trickle back. And that would happen so many times, but it would be that hype that people would be like, "No, this is what's going to destroy WoW or destroy X game."
And then what? There was Rift. Was the "we're not in Azeroth anymore" commercials.
Yes, Rift, the only one I would say that truly tried to challenge World of Warcraft of being a WoW
I
killer.
think it's the only one that's still successful that directly challenged World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it still
Or at the very
exists.
least, it's still open.
Yeah, I don't know their number, so I can't really say if there's. I mean, they're still going, so I guess successful in some
Still no
sense.
development, but so your primary point is that it rolls the hype train goes too fast, and nothing that is released can really live up to the hype.
Yeah, and it ends up just disappointing the player base, and I think creates a wound that the developers and maybe even the community sometimes can't even come back from, especially when it's a new game.
Okay, that's well, going there. No Man's Sky is a fantastic example of that, which Uncultured Savage brought up right before we started the show. Is throwing shade at overhyping early release games, which, let's all be fair, No Man's Sky on release was basically an early access title. It looked pretty, it looked fantastic, but it was essentially an early access title.
But that is a great example of a community overhyping it because I remember looking at the videos, and granted, supposedly people have quotes of like Sean Murray at the time saying certain like you'll be able to meet your friends like that. Yeah, I think that was like one of the biggest ones that was like a wrong thing, like was the overhype thing. But a lot of that came from the community of like we'll be able to travel the world together and or the universe together and all that stuff. And when I would see when I would see like the trailers and stuff, people would be making these like assumptions off of it, like, oh, if what could be in that planet over there could do this and that. I'm like, that's not in anywhere in that video. But kind of what you're saying, I was like, I looked at the trailer and I was like, that looks cool. I bought it on day one. I mean, and for me, like I try to avoid that hype because I have been burned in the past, and I'm sure everybody out there has. But
And see, Kit now Kit is honestly where I'm at. I would have loved to see more on the Alliance update, and the statement is that, to paraphrase the paragraph, it's just we'd rather hear more about the Alliance system rather than, hey, here's a mount in WDW. Now, I will say, giving the devs the benefit of the doubt, the Alliance system, which for anybody playing another MMO, it's effectively mega servers, but for a three-way server battle that takes place across four separate maps. That's what Guild Wars 2 World versus World is. Trying to get rid of the concept of servers on a mode that depends on the concept of servers is a massive back-end structural change. So I can kind of understand, like they gave us the roadmap for the plan a year and a half ago, I want to say. Like just the concept of the alliance system in Guild Wars 2.
yeah, I think it was around that. It sounds about right.
So giving the devs the benefit of the doubt, that's a huge project, and knowing that it's being worked on, that's all I really need. Um, from Savage, I think it's also a problem with these early access games too. Fan bases almost make it taboo to criticize games for essentially launching unfinished. Like it's not okay to say when the devs will patch it in. Okay, yeah, with Anthem and its early access launch. Okay, that's another kind of strike for Kick. Is the rabid defense of something. Honestly, I think that's more of a problem with online access to a lot of things. When you have the ability to patch a game, a lot of times you'll see development companies push out a game without really finishing it. Just get it working, get it out, we'll fix it later. And as a developer myself, I know that we'll fix it later doesn't often happen unless it is something that is
Game breaking or
yeah, if it breaks, then it gets fixed, but otherwise it's a tertiary concern.
I mean, yeah, I think we've talked about this loads of times in the past where it's kind of like that idea of I think that's one thing that works against us. It's great technology that we can have those patches at the drop of a hat and type thing, and it's such a weird concept when it's like people hear when you hear games that are on multiple consoles and they're like, well, why isn't the Xbox one coming out or PlayStation one coming out on the same day as the PC one? Because they have to go through quality control.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's usually what takes them the week or 2 weeks or whatever. But it is that one of those things. Like if you go back to like NES days when they'd be like, oh, they'd finally test something after they sent on it off to get produced and stuff, and they're like, oh, look, on level 24, if you walk left this way too much, it errors and blue screens and blah blah, blah. They're like, just put that in the manual as the secret win screen, because we can't change it. Like,
Yes, Fenris, hype. And we all know that you're an appropriate hype beast. But Warframe and Subnautica apparently did really good early access. Okay. And see, that right there is going to hop into my bit because honestly, it sounds like I've been arguing for kick this entire
I
time.
would say I was like, a lot of people were bringing up topics. I'm like, I could just
Just sit back and let chat debate me. Yeah, I know. Kicking hype means that like if we just flat out no more hype, no, we're done. That's not good because then it means that the player base, the people who are supposed to be excited for a game, aren't excited, which means they're not going to talk about it, which can kill a game. We've seen this specifically with Guild Wars 2 because Mike O'Brien has stated that
we're the advertisers.
yeah, like the player base for Guild Wars 2,
Basically.
we are effectively the advertisers. They've gotten rid of really early release or releasing information early, giving us an idea of what they're working on because people will take it and run with it. And then if something goes wrong, perfect example is the second generation of legendary weapons in Guild Wars 2. We were supposed to get those with Heart of Thorns, the first expansion, and I believe at this point we are still missing 3 of the...
No, I think we still only have one left.
The Greatsword.
I think we're down to one. Yes.
Okay, we're just left with the great. We're already a year and a half or 2 years into the second expansion, and we're still waiting for the last legendary weapon to come out.
Though at least they tied it so if like since you like you said it came out at like some of them still came out after the second expansion, that's not necessarily required.
Right. You just need the
if you
first.
only had so they still did right by the player base, which trust me, I couldn't even imagine the headache.
We both remember on Talking Script when they were like, the player base was mad, incredibly mad that we were missing all of the legendaries first thing. I kind of get that. So that's. But going back to my original point that Mike O'Brien made the decision that we want you to be so excited while playing this game that you will be our advertisers. If a player base isn't excited to play, they're not going to talk about a game, and therefore no one's going to, you're not going to get new blood in. So that's just going to stagnate the game, and the population will peter out, and you will have a dead game. Specifically, talking about the Warclaw, again, for Guild Wars 2, is... I'll get to that in a second, Fenris. The Warclaw in World vs. World is going to get new players in. It's also going to... It's still too early to tell because we don't know what the actual mechanics of the mount are, but I have a feeling that it could very well drastically change the way World vs. World is played in Guild Wars 2, which could get people into the game. I, for one, tend to not like a lot of World vs. World play because it tends to be a lot of standing around. I don't hop in all that often. So the issue there is that I know how World vs. World works on like a tactical level, but it's just not fun to me. So if you change the way it functions with the Warclaw, that's got me interested. It's got me hyped. I'm going to hop back in and play it.
Using the Guild Wars 2 example with the Warclaw, if they would have not said anything and basically pulled an Apex Legends, because that's my thing is I'm okay with hype after the thing's released because, like you said, word of mouth is a good way to sell a thing. That worked for Minecraft. That worked for right now Apex Legends. It's like now if they would have just dropped it and was like that Tuesday or Monday night, so there wasn't a lot of time, but ideally right then and there. Do you think it would have been a or would be a better success than this now about a week gap where people are like you said dissecting the thing to figure out what the skills are for the mounts because they're like, oh, this thing has this and that means it's broken. It's like all you're seeing is a screenshot or a video of
It's like a minute
like
30
lightning
second
doing
video,
something.
and I want to say
And it does a couple leaps, so it seems like it has a leap attack, but people are thinking, well, you could leap from this to that to break this, and but it's like
right. That see my issue there is that hype is not solely a thing generated by the development company or team. It is we are talking about community created hype after all. So unbridled hype will lead to disappointment. I am intrigued by the Wark Law, but I am tempering that because I don't know what its abilities are. At most, I know it looks cool and has good animations. That's it.
mm-hmm.
I know nothing about how you get it, how it works, how they're going to change, because it has siege-like abilities. Are they going to be releasing a numbers patch on other siege weaponry in World versus World in order to, account for the fact that the Warclaw exists? I don't know. So I'm going to wait to really judge before I see, I need to see mechanics and numbers. That's on me as part of the community to temper my hype. It's okay that they release stuff. I would say that a company kind of leading people on to build the overhype, that's arguably is what No Man's Sky ended up doing, because they basically said, oh yeah, it's totally multiplayer, and as we both know, when No Man's Sky released, it was very much not multiplayer. So the complaints and if anything, if I'm going to say kick on if I'm going to temper my keep argument with a little bit of kick here, it's that people need to check their own emotions on something before they get really super excited for it. And that's for both positive and negative emotions. Just letting your emotions run with it, it's never going to result in a good thing. Like when the numbers come out, I might hate it. I might think it's a dumb idea, but I hope it isn't. So I'm sitting here waiting and hoping that it's going to do well. Like my hype right now, if I'm going to bring up my own hype for a game right now, is Nintendo Switch is remaking Link's Awakening, which originally released for the Nintendo Game Boy in 1993. It was the first video game I owned. I got it for my 5th birthday, along with my Game Boy and Super Mario for the Game Boy. I nearly cried when I saw that tweet come out. I will. This is recorded. This is going on the internet. I nearly cried when I saw that announcement because that's my childhood right there. That is the first game I played through entirely by myself with no help from walkthroughs or guides or anything.
But is that more nostalgia
Oh, it's 100% nostalgia. But I'm also really hyped
than
to
hype?
see what they're doing with the game with new technology. It's one of those things where you always wonder, what would a game look like now with the current tech as it did then? Like just drop this game like it's new. What would it look like? Would it be more amazing? Would it control better? Would it have more mechanics? Would it be a deeper plot? It's just and then Fenders also brings up Kingdom Hearts 3, which I sat on the couch with my wife, and she's the Kingdom Hearts fan here. There are 3 separate cinematics. There's the load the game up and you wait for the main menu cinematic. There's the start a new game cinematic, and then there's another one right after that. We both teared up a little bit on that. I didn't even play the damn games. So it's
Well, I guess that's another aspect of something that can drum up hype is something that's returning or
yeah,
nostalgic in a series. My focus is more on something that's like a
anticipated.
new IP or something separate or like an update to a game where they tease that stuff and then it's like, or they talk about something and then the community runs with it. But you guys are right that like that is a good aspect of
Well, even
hype mixed with nostalgia.
with games that have long running plot, Guild Wars 2, when they said that we were going to the Sunspear Sanctuary, how many Guild Wars 1 players got super excited about that? When it
Yeah,
was just
and
like,
how many people afterwards were less super excited
to
about
be honest, I
it?
don't know. I really don't spend too much time on
People were kind of hopeful that it was going to be
more. Yeah.
more. Yeah,
Um,
as always.
Fenris, the hype new IP right now is basically Apex Legends,
And I
which
was gonna say
just kind
maybe
of
for in the future of what 2050, how did Star Citizen pan out? You gotta let us know in
it
2050.
hasn't released yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Star Citizen probably
But
hasn't released yet in 2050. If I'll make a note to time travel back to this show by the end of it and tell everybody how Star Citizen is when Star Citizen releases.
are we just waiting for you for the rest of the show? Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
what if that actually happened? Either we don't have time travel or you forgot.
Well, I do often forget that Star Citizen exists.
So that's a there you go.
But
That's not hype. The game is outright. You can play it. Hype can't kill it.
uh yes, hype could kill Apex
Can
Legends right now because it just kind
Well,
of
but
dropped.
that's my one thing is that was kind of void of hype.
Right, because it just kind of happened. But the thing is,
Yes.
its meteoric rise can kill it because it's not doing things fast enough.
Yeah.
That's a thing that could kill Apex Legends if it's not evolving fast enough to keep up with what the player base wants. I haven't played it because battle royales aren't my thing.
Yeah, I'm not a big battle royale person, but for me it's just like it's a game mode that games that started out with it was just horde mode. Now we're just that's the game. I'm waiting for it to just be thrown into the next
Yeah,
shooter, which they kind of did with
Black
Black.
Ops
Oh,
with blackout mode. Yeah. Oh, and
yeah.
because I said I would mention it to Fenris before. The whole trusting Fallout 76 players to not grief, that is a survival game mechanic. That's a problem with Ark. That's a problem with Minecraft. That's a problem with literally any crafting / survival game. That's not a Fallout 76 thing.
Yeah, it sounds like you didn't survive.
Womp womp. Well, it's the way those kinds of games are set up, and if you don't actively make development changes to combat it, it's not going to happen.
That might actually kind of talking about that might be a negative against or something against hype is using that nostalgia thing of previous Fallout games. I think a lot of people maybe bought Fallout 76 hoping it would be more like a Fallout game,
Yep.
but it is more of a survival game.
And
And
that particular aspect is on the development team, because you're hoping that you can ride off of benefits from.
well, but I mean, if you looked at it, they even talk about it when it launched, when they first announced it. They were saying it was a different way to play. It's a survival game. Like, I don't know. I knew from the very get go when they announced it. I was like, this isn't like the all the other Fallout games. I mean, so I mean, I feel once again that was the community drumming it up in hopes that it was going to be the
So
great Fallout game.
I think we're kind of at the point here is that from Kick side is that hype can kill a game by running too far ahead of what can be delivered upon. Either missed opportunities or unrealistic expectations from the community, right?
Yeah.
And then from my side is that if we have no hype, we have nothing, and then the game will die under the weight of silence.
Though there is Apex Legends that broke it.
Well, yeah, like that just
Though that might be the exception to the rule, kind of like how,
to be fair, that's kind of riding off of the hype of battle royale right now.
true.
Like literally you drop any it was kind of like when League of Legends and Dota were having their meteoric rise and every game coming out was a new MOBA, right? Like, and the only one I can think of that came out of that that's still alive is Smite.
Yeah, I think there's like mobile ones, and well, on the Western market, I think there's not that many.
Yeah. So that's nega hype. I like that, Savage. Nega hype. I dig that. Where people are concerned, convinced that Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield will be terrible because Bethesda doesn't look like they know what they're doing. Uh, I mean, to be brutally honest, I feel like Bethesda kind of doesn't know what they're doing since Oblivion, but that's me. And they basically depend on modders to fix a lot of shit. They're fantastic at making 80% of a game. That's one of the things that I've felt for a very long time now. And that's also true, is you can get to a point where the community is so convinced that the development team cannot deliver that anything they actually do deliver will just be like, you could have done better. So, but it's, I can't. The whole nega hype thing kind of ruined. Oh, right, we were talking about Apex Legends and it kind of coming out of nowhere because no one talked about Apex Legends before it released. I don't remember ever hearing about it. But I think it's kind of riding on the coattails of the Battle Royale thing, kind of like MOBAs did previously. As far as I can tell, it seems like Apex Legends is doing a fantastic job of making a name for itself, and it will probably survive. At this point, it kind of feels like PUBG, the like kind of the explosion point of Battle Royale madness lately, is kind of falling behind. I don't hear it talked about very much anymore.
See, Savage, I'm kind of curious because when Apex Legends dropped, and that's I talked about it in our Discord thing. Link in the description. Shameless plug. I couldn't resist. I was hoping to get a second great plug from Kit, but I heard a lot of people going like, "Oh, Apex Legends is the greatest thing," and blah, blah, whatever, and not caring that EA published it. But on the flip side of Anthem's coming out relatively around the same time, all that stuff. Oh, it's an EA shill product, blah 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 blah.
Well,
And
I do think there are two things that are different there. One, like Savage said, is that Respawn, the company, the development company that made the Titanfall series, is the one that makes Apex Legends. They basically said that EA has no input on it. Like that was a statement that came out rather shortly after Apex Legends started blowing up, and that kind of spread as the counter to, hey, EA's publishing this game that's probably shit. As for Anthem and the kind of nega hype on that, I think that primarily comes from what happened to the end of Mass Effect 3 and Mass Effect Andromeda. In that basically BioWare was forced to move from Unreal to Frostbite, and it didn't come
and shifted a lot of devs, so new different
right.
blood in there. It's
Yeah,
like
and then
I mean,
EA apparently kind of forcibly shifted development focus away from Titanfall 2, is the scuttle there. So that's the kind of I think the thing that's riding against Anthem is EA's kind of micromanagement of BioWare on that other point. That isn't to say, and this is one of the things that
it actually, but that's the funny thing because a lot of people brought up the Anthem thing. I guess we're getting away from the overhyping of
well,
stuff. Well, this is the
yeah,
nega
this is
hype
the nega hype.
of it. Is I know a lot of people prior to it were saying, "Look at these prices of these screenshots," and of course they were off. They're they're better price points than you find in Apex Legends. So either the devs of Apex Legends are nickel and diming you more so than Anthem, or EA has a hand in it at some point.
Uh, the question there is, I don't know. Well, see, that's the thing is I don't know what the cash shop looks like on either of them because I don't have either of the games.
Well, I looked up Apex Legends because I'm not familiar with it, but I think it does have cheaper price points as like, oh, if you buy more at one
Right.
moment. But I heard some people comparing it to like these armor skins or whatever you want to call it are requiring you to it's like 100 over the lowest tier or the the $10 tier mark, so you have to buy like the $20 mark.
Right. Well, that's
You,
standard
if you
marketing.
want to buy that outright, if you want to buy that outright in Anthem, I think they're less money than the $10 mark if I'm remembering.
Oh, so Savage, you're basically saying it's effectively similar to Overwatch with the way Apex Legends works, is you get loot boxes as you level up, and okay. I mean, the thing that always bugs me is cosmetic items. It's that whole perception of value thing that we had the big argument on whenever we ended up with those like the $20 mount skins in Guild Wars 2. Um, Say, going to Overwatch is a thing. If I get a Junkrat legendary skin out of a loot box in Overwatch, but I have 0 minutes played on Junkrat, I dislike how the character plays, I will never touch the character, that has zero value to me. So that's the whole thing with cosmetics but as long as it's cosmetics, if somebody wants it, have at thee. My problem is with loot boxes is just I want to buy it. Let me buy the thing. I bought a $20 mount skin in Guild Wars 2 because I thought it was fantastic. That was worth it to me. But, perception of value. I think we're getting into loot boxes again. I don't want to have flashbacks to Arlie in episode 1 backing me into a corner. But now that that's been going over nega hype now, because you notice that a lot of the nega hype kind of centers on EA. Makes you wonder.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's because they're the ones that got caught with their hand in the cookie jar because of the loot box
That and
thing.
they keep executing game studios. So, but
I mean, we still look at it though. It's like Blizzard Activision's Overwatch is still selling loot boxes, and
just not in Belgium.
they they kind of just asked a lot of people too. I mean,
After a record year, no less.
yeah. So it's but yeah, EA is the one that got their hand caught in the cookie jar. So they're the ones that are
They're
the universe will make an example out of
yeah.
them type thing.
But I think that's pretty much it. Is that
I know, I'm getting crushed.
yeah.
Let's keep talking until that red gets.
But
We might be here all week.
But I think we're kind of at the point now where the real thrust of the argument is not get rid of it or have more of it. It has to be tempered with logic, reason, common sense. Just don't let your emotions run away from you.
Yeah, but we're on the internet, so it has to be all or nothing at
yeah,
this
that's
point.
right.
You guys have to decide.
Is this the point where the game show music cuts in and then, we go to the battle arena?
Yeah.
We are not going to be fighting to the death on this show. This is not an 80s action flick, okay?
It's like Pokemon. I choose you, Chewbacca.
Jesus. How long have you been waiting to use that in a video?
I saw it over there and I was like, this is the time.
Oh, God. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Mad Realm's Vote to Kick. I've been your host, Jim. You can find me on Twitter, at MalThanusMMO. You can find Vote to Kick live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And afterwards, we got Zero to Hero, where we got various gaming things now. I've been playing Salt and Sanctuary.
I mean, we were talking a lot about World v. World. Are we going to do that next week? Which we can start
if the Warclaw is out, I definitely want to do World v. World for Zero to Hero.
And I'll try to pop in for that. And
I definitely want to
we'll love to hear people's feedback. It'll be live, which maybe we'll try to do more of those.
Yeah.
People like that kind of thing.
And then this gentleman right over here, this is Dayo. You can find him on Twitch and Twitter at simply_Dayo, where he actually has a really cool, what's the EKG? I don't know what the brainwave thing is called. EEG machine, where he straps it to his head and plays stuff so you can see how his brain is reacting to things. Yeah, there it is. That's the thing.
Yeah, I did one Monday night. I was gonna do one tonight, but I just got a bunch of work thrown in my lap,
Yay,
so
work.
I don't know if I'll be doing it tonight.
I mean, boo work, but yay money.
Yeah, yeah. Can we do vote to kick on work?
I wish, but I actually like my job, so I think I'd be on keep for that. But
I'll do kick.
ladies and gentlemen, you also find this channel live on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, where me and Dayo and two of our friends, Age and Arlie, talk about Guild Wars 2 for our weekly Guild Wars 2 news podcast, Talking Scrit. We're going to be talking about the Warclaw and hopefully some other stuff, because I think they're going to be talking about it on the live stream for Guild Wars 2 on Friday. So I'm looking forward to having more information for the show Saturday.
Hopefully, we bring some sanity to all the madness, mad realms, madness.
Twitch.tv/Mad Realms. That's 2 A's in the Mad. You can find Mad Realms on Twitch and Twitter and YouTube, all the same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic evening. And oh yeah, people on YouTube, let us know. The poll's going to be in the description below. Tell us in the comments what you think about community created hype. Like, comment, subscribe, bell.
And make sure to vote red. And if you don't vote red, say in the comments why you chose wrong.
You must be fantastic at parties. Good night, everybody.
What's that?